welcome to The Very Worst, the only podcast about all of the Pokemon movies. I'm Ashley Stoneman.
I'm Matt Allcamp.
And I'm Pat Reber.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see you next week.
All right, so this was Pokemon 2000?
Yeah, that's the name of this movie, is the Pokemon movie 2000.
Which I assume means it was produced in the year 2000.
Nope.
No, wrong again.
Released
Ashley.
in the United States in 1999.
That's true.
Why is it called Pokemon 2000 then? What's the purpose of
Because
that?
everyone, I don't know if you guys remember the 90s, but everyone was super psyched for the year 2000. So
Yeah.
everything in the last 2 years of the 90s had 2000 branded on it.
Yeah, this was pre-Y2K. This was before anybody knew the terrible atrocities that were awaiting them in Y2K. All the Porygon shut down. Remember that?
The what?
Porygon. It's a Pokemon that's like the virtual
It's like
reality.
the robot Pokemon.
Well, yeah, it's like the virtual. Okay, this
Digimon, if you will.
Pokemon the movie 2000.
Digital monsters?
How did you guys feel about this one?
I'm gonna go last because I feel like my opinion is gonna differ.
I will
feel-
also go last.
I'll go first.
Me and Matt will go simultaneously. We'll just like speak our opinion at the same time.
So I feel like in the 90s and then lasting until now and beyond, but the trend started in the 90s of kids movies that also had jokes in them for adults. So adults that took their kids to see these movies would be like, "Hey, I took my kids to see this movie, but even I found it entertaining because they'd put some stuff in there that's really a nod to the adults that had to come see this movie."
Right.
And I feel like they started doing that because of movies like Pokemon 2000.
Which there's nothing for adults at all.
There is no context whatsoever. It just jumps into this story that you need to understand the world of to get what's going on.
That's such a
Right.
good point. They don't explain a Pokemon. They don't explain who Ash is. They
Right.
don't explain anything about it, and there's some deep cuts in there. Like later, Ash's mom shows up. 2 different Pokemon professors show up with no introduction as to who they are. Like, you need to know a lot before you take one step into this movie.
It's so true.
I guess I stopped watching the series sometime after the first Pokemon movie because I have no idea who this other dude is in Pokemon 2000, but it's not
That's
Brock.
the thing. These people just show up and no one explains who they are. These new faces you have never seen before, and it's never explained who they are.
This
ever.
dude Tracy, who has like 4 lines in the movie, and he sucks, and he's always sketching on a piece of paper, but we never see what he's drawing. He could just be drawing like lewd pictures the whole time. You know, he's drawing pictures of Brock tongue-kissing Pokemon.
French kissing a Pokemon.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it. But he also like interjects into people's conversations, like uninvited. Just like jumps into other people's conversations. It's really strange.
Yeah.
I don't like this character.
This movie definitely is not for the uninitiated, and not only is it lacking in exposition, because the thing is it's not lacking in exposition.
No,
There's one plot point in this movie that is exposited 100 times. But nothing else is explained at all. There's so much silence in this movie, but like very little explanation of anything again besides this one plot point, which is repeated in the shape of a prophecy and a quote unquote scientific explanation, like
Right.
half a dozen times.
And then they have this weird like Lord of the Rings type opening, with that poem, the rhyme.
Right, that's what I'm referring to. This prophecy.
Right. That's what I mean, though. Like, it's very, like, mystical Lord of the Rings-esque is what it reminded me of.
Oh my god, yeah, this movie is kind of Lord of the Rings-esque, right?
Yeah.
It is kind of this, like, the narrative is just guy has to do thing and encounters obstacles.
Right.
There's not like a complex plot, and there's a whole world surrounding it that isn't that unlike unlike Lord of the Rings is not explained at all.
Yeah, I feel like if you took Lord of the Rings and you removed all allegory,
Right.
and all messaging and morals, then you have Pokemon 2000.
Yeah, this movie is definitely, it's light.
And morally ambiguous.
Yes.
It's everything ambiguous. Ambiguous is the watchword in this movie. Ashley, what were your impressions?
I had more thoughts on like really weird dialogue that was going on. My whole impression is just like there are things that are just not, like you guys have already hit on it. There's things that just never explained throughout the entire movie, and I don't understand how a kid could be watching this and following it at all.
Oh, I totally understand how a kid could be watching this and following. I don't understand how anything but a kid could be watching this and following.
That's very true.
At one point, while watching this movie, I wrote down in my notes, does anything matter? Does anything anyone does here affect what happens in any way?
And it's interesting, Ashley, that you mentioned that one of the things that weirded you out is the dialogue, because there's 18 lines to choose from. There's 18 lines of dialogue in this movie. And,
No. But
and that's
just,
it. That's all
okay.
the dialogue in the movie.
So it's just there's a lot to get in right away. So the villain of this movie
Jack Black.
is Jack
Black.
There you said
That's
Jack Black.
I thought it was. I swear up and down. I had to look it up to. It's not true, but I swore up and down that was Jack Black's voice the entire time.
I thought he looked like Hugh Jackman with green
a little
hair.
bit. That's a good pull.
This guy
he did have a very familiar voice. I will say that.
looks like Hugh Jackman and sounds like Jack Black. That is not bad.
This guy's not doing too bad for himself. And he's got a Mew card. Oh, watch out for this dude.
Yeah, I love this guy. I'm going to do another installment in a little bit about how rad the evil lair in this movie is.
Yeah, do you guys just want to start digging through the movie? Or,
Yes.
Ashley, did you have something else?
No, that was it. There's a lot to unpack about this villain here. Because
Okay, we'll get to the villain pretty fast. Okay, so it opens up with this prophecy being spoken by, eventually we find out who the person saying this is, but it's this really smooth, silky voice, this like John Milton-esque prophecy. Do you guys want to, do you have the prophecy pulled up?
I have it pulled up.
Are we doing this?
Sure,
okay.
ready? On your mark, get set. Disturb
not
the
the harmony of fire, ice, or lightning, lest these three titans wreak destruction upon the world in which they clash.
Okay,
Though
pause.
the water's great guardian shall arise to quell the fighting alone, its song will fail. Thus the earth shall turn to ash. O chosen one, into thine hands bring together all three. Their treasures combined tame the beasts of the sea.
See, I stopped doing this with you guys because when I looked at my version, I got like some weird like Google Translate version right here. And it's
hold on.
It's not giving me the right words. Like you guys are speaking something different.
I'm in the IMDb quotes.
Me too, and it's wrong. It says wreck destruction instead of wreak destruction.
Mine says in which they class.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, less these. It doesn't say three titans. Just says these titans. And I'm on DeviantArt, which is still a thing, by the way. So this very ominous prophecy opens a Pokemon movie.
It feels very shallow. It feels very like, I don't know what. That's what I said when the movie opened.
Right, and they're gonna repeat this so many times in this movie.
Yeah, or at least parts of it.
Yeah. This is like the crux of the movie, and the only piece of one of two pieces of exposition we get. So we don't know. Yeah, we don't know who's speaking this, but then immediately it cuts to this weird dude who, again, we don't know who it is. He just looks like Hugh Jackman. He sounds like Jack Black, and he's in some big floating lair.
Oh yeah, this is my time to shine. This lair is amazing. I really think it outranks the lair in the Mew's lair in
I agree.
the last movie, even though that was a sweet lair. So I've got a few notes here. Number one, talking holocomputer. That's really cool.
It's such an incredibly sophisticated Siri, right? Yeah. Like, this is a thing that always gets me is, like, supercomputers in movies and cartoons and stuff. Everything that they say has to be programmed, right? Like, everything has to be put in and programmed. They have to know certain functions. What impresses me is how somebody had the forethought to program all of this stuff into this dude's Siri. Like, all these sentences about Articuno and Zapdos and like.
I think he's using Siri, not Amazon Echo, because it seems very much like his entire layer is controlled by Amazon Echo.
Yeah, maybe it's Amazon Echo.
Yeah, but like if an Amazon
Alexa?
Echo was connected to a 3D hologram.
Alexa, who is Zapdos?
Zapdos, a legendary Pokemon.
So he's got this holo computer, which is cool. It's got like a really cool 3-dimensional chessboard battle strategy map.
Which seems to update in real time, which seems to pull real, like create avatars from things that it encounters in the real world and add them to the chessboard in real time.
It's got scanners out there clearly somehow.
That are able to do very quick graphic design.
It has a huge, comfortable chair.
Yes.
It's still an evil-looking chair, which is cool. It's got a very high back. It's got just like red lights where there's extra space wherever there's extra space on the chair. There's a huge computer console surrounding it, and the coolest fucking thing about this is that there's a chair that just takes him up and down each floor in this lair. And then you find out that this is actually like a cloud lair. It's a floating lair that he's hiding in the clouds, powered by the windmills on every single steeple that's all around it. It is floating in the sky.
Hal's floating castle? That's what it reminded me of. And he has a Michelangelo painting?
What? I think you're conflating two different Miyazaki movies. Because there's Howl's Moving Castle, but then there's Laputa Castle. Then there's Laputa Castle in the Sky, which is what I actually think you're thinking of. Yeah. But this dude, I don't know. But this dude's supercomputer is pretty weak from a modern context. I wrote down in my notes that this was the dime store Tony Stark.
It's not, but it's better than I have. It's better than we're recording this podcast on, and that's what I'm impressed by.
Okay.
My laptop can't make my house fly.
Also, for maybe limited functionality, he's made it look real good. It is flashy as hell, and I love that. That's a classic villain lair to me.
Okay, yeah.
Why aren't we pointing out the Michelangelo painting in this layer?
I was getting there.
Okay.
Because
that part, I was like, how did this happen? And who did he get to paint that? And I don't understand in this high tech layer why there's like this painting from the 14th century or something.
Well, what I love about that painting is that they don't reveal that this exists in his lair until like the 2/3 of the way through the movie.
Yeah.
As at some point they just pan to the ceiling and there's a Michelangelo painting, and then he takes his fucking chair and shoots it 50 feet up into this Michelangelo painting, and then just gets off at the next floor. It's like an elevator chair that he has.
Yeah.
So weird.
There's huge windows, just like floor to ceiling windows, and the spaces between each window has some weird like antique tea set, I think they are. Like he just has these weird little pots and pans and stuff like that. Is the bottom of this layer opens to collect things. It opens with a bunch of gun turrets come out, and then he can shoot bombs out of it. He can shoot those crazy wires that he uses to capture Pokemon instead of just using Pokeballs.
Yeah.
This is a thing. This is a question. Okay, so I'm going to interrupt your list, and we can get right back to it because you're dovetailing into the narrative here, which is right here. He captures one of the legendary Pokemon, the Firebird Moltres, and he catches it with these weird rings. These are like electric rings, and I was watching it the whole time like, this guy has enough money to afford building this giant floating lair with all these features and this like painted chapel ceiling. Like, this guy can't afford some Ultra Balls? This guy can't like pay Silphco to make him a Master Ball? There's devices in your world for doing exactly what you're trying to do.
But maybe they could escape an Ultra Ball. I mean,
they can't escape a Master Ball. All right, Pat, what's your next step of this?
I only got one, and we're jumping ahead a little bit, but at some point this thing gets destroyed, and the collector, the person that owns this floating fortress, doesn't care. He's got at least one more just hanging out somewhere because he loses this thing, and he's like, oh, well, I guess I'll just have to go grab my other floating city.
Right. So we don't know that yet. All we do is we see this guy talk about how if he can collect Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno, the fire, ice, and lightning from the prophecy, that it'll unlock some treasure. And then, he shoots these rings, and he zaps Moltres, and then he captures Moltres, and then it cuts to
him torturing a bird.
That's true. He tortures a bird. And this is where my adult girlfriend pointed out that in anime, there's often, instead of recording like animal sounds for animals, and I know Pokemon are, and I mentioned this in the last episode, and I know Pokemon are not real animals that you can record actual sounds from, but instead of, this is like apparently a running thing in anime movies, instead of recording animals, they record humans doing animal voices. So there's just this super long scene of him torturing this bird, and the sounds that the bird makes are a human being just going like,
yes. But can we talk about how Zapdos is literally just a person screaming? Like,
well,
it's
Moltres.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Are you sure? Because
no, you're right. Moltres is pretty bad. Zapdos is clearly just a person going.
It's just into a microphone.
I thought you were talking
over and over and over, and that's when I started thinking about these voice actors just in the booth screaming into a microphone, and
thinking like, God, this makes me how much money?
We have to do 5 more takes. Oh God, oh Jesus, my throat.
This is $200. So it cuts away from this this mysterious green-haired man's sky fortress to our heroes, Ash, Misty, and some fucking dude.
Some dudes get a haircut.
Some dude.
That's what I call him.
Named Tracy. They call him Tracy. And I hate him.
I hate him too. He's awful.
And they're all hanging out on a boat. Pikachu's doing the Titanic in the front of it. And at some point, Ash pops out his Pokemon, and he still hasn't evolved his Squirtle or his Bulbasaur.
They're all the same level. They've never evolved. That's the one thing that I was taken away. And also, he opens a Snorlax on the boat. Maybe I'm getting ahead of it, but like...
Yeah, that's
nuts.
Why?
Yeah, during the intro sequence where there's this other crazy song. The songs from this movie are so crazy.
Yo, this song ruled out.
Use the power that's in my head.
They were kind of sick. This guitar solo, oh my God.
Yeah, it really ripped. The singing is neat. It's all in Japanese. Not in Japanese, just clearly made by people in Japan. But they at first I was super disappointed that they weren't doing the very best song, and then all of a sudden they go into this ripping pop rock,
shredding guitars. It's great.
Yeah, I approve of this song.
Me too.
Okay, so this song is I just looked it up. It's called Pokemon World. And it's performed by a American pop girl group of the late 1990s and early 2000s, Nobody's Angel. And they appear to only do soundtracks. They do the Pokemon movie 2000. They do 102 Dalmatians.
What you gonna do with your second chance?
And they do the Princess Diaries.
It ain't a man's world. You go number one.
and they do the Parent Trap. Yeah, this song's a good one. My favorite lyrics. So you want to be a master of Pokemon, understand the secrets, and have some fun. So you want to be a master of Pokemon. Do you have the skills to be number one? And then they tell us we're living in a Pokemon world.
Which we are now. Look at us.
Yeah, look at it.
They were right.
Prescient.
They're 20 years early.
So, this song's playing while they just show off everybody's Pokemon, and then a storm pops up. Again, the major plot point of this movie being a mysterious storm out of nowhere that's caused by Pokemon.
I'm sorry, Matt. I think you missed one very big thing that happens between the opening credits and the storm.
Oh, yes.
That is the first appearance of Psyduck. It's 6 minutes and 43 seconds.
That's right.
Does he do anything or just swims along with the boat?
No, he falls over. Right?
Okay.
And that's it. So I'm gonna keep complaining about this movie. That, aside from maybe a minor cameo later in the movie, that is the only appearance from Psyduck.
It's fucked up.
So,
a storm sets their whole boat off course and kicks off this long. This gripe of mine that I had through the entire movie, which is whoever made this movie does not understand how boats work. Apparently, as the storm ramps up and makes the waves choppy, it throws the boat out of the water into the air every time a wave happens, and I'm almost positive that's not how that works.
Have we reached the point where the narrator's like setting them off on the Greatest Adventure? Because they set a pretty high bar for all the other movies now. Because like Ash is being set on his greatest adventure,
and this is Ash's greatest adventure. So it's like, yeah, why keep watching the movie?
Exactly. I feel like they just sort of like capped it off there and be like, well, it's all downhill from here, guys. Yeah, all I have in my notes from the beginning is where the fuck is Brock?
And Team Rocket still shows up in a giant Magikarp.
Yes,
yeah.
Team Rocket on their way.
Also not explained. They're just following these kids for no reason.
They mentioned Pikachu, that they want Pikachu, which I still don't understand why they want Pikachu.
No. They have some good puns. No, they have actually some really bad puns. One of them says, we should have gotten carp insurance.
Yes.
Like car insurance. There's plenty of types of insurance. That's not a good pun.
No.
And then one says, we're about to be fillet of fish.
Which doesn't
What does that mean? Where's the pun there?
There's no, it's not a joke. It's just.
He says it like it's a pun.
I know. He hits a point where maybe there was some kind of joke in Japanese that was mistranslated.
Oh, yeah.
One really fun thing about this scene is that you do get to see a whole school of Magikarp swimming together.
That is actually kind of cool.
I found that when you hear a bunch of Magikarp just saying their name over and over again together, it just sounds like a whole bunch of the same dude in a room talking to each other. Like it's the perfect just white noise sound of Magikarp, 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 Magikarp.
Again, can you imagine like how much you would be losing your mind and going insane if you were the voice actor who had to like voice Magikarp?
Hey, can you come in this Tuesday and say Magikarp into a microphone 650 times?
It pays $100.
Yeah. So then it cuts.
I don't want that damn Moltres money.
So then it cuts from this harrowing boat tale to Professor Oak showing up at, I guess that's Professor Ivy's house.
I guess.
And out front, she has a Mr. Mime.
Fuck, I hate Mr. Mime so much. I have that in my notes. I hate Mr. Mime.
Sorry, I don't mean to correct anyone here. That's Ash's mom.
Oh,
Ash's mom.
That's Ash's
That's
house
right.
that he shows up at.
I know she shows up later, but you're right, because they call
and there's a
Professor
picture.
Ivy on the telephone.
Also, I'm sorry to spoil anything that we're about to get to, but this never pays off. We meet Professor Oak and we meet Ash's mom, and then
we meet
they
Professor
keep showing
Ivy.
up, but they don't affect the plot in any way.
No, there's no payoff to it except for there's a kind of a semi-comedic scene with Ash's mom at the end of the movie.
I think they wanted to also be like, hey, someone actually does care about Ash, because Ash is 12 years old, just out there on his own, and they wanted to like reestablish the fact that no, he does have a parent.
Also, here's this fucked up thing. his mom owns a Mr. Mime, the creepiest of all
Yes.
Pokemon.
Hate it.
And instead of using it to battle or be a pet, she uses it to do her sweeping, which drives home this idea of, like, how fucked up it is that people own Pokemon, like, and make them do their housework. Plus, the Mr. Mime is sweeping a patch of grass. It's not even sweeping, like, a wooden floor or the porch. It's sweeping grass, like the most futile of efforts. And she's like, well, this will keep him busy for several hours.
That's exactly.
She's just giving
That's what I was thinking. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. She's just like, just give him a broom and like kind of just like let him play around for a while to keep him out of her hair.
Oh, see, I thought she was just giving Mr. Mime impossible tasks. I thought she was like, Mr. Mime, there's too many bugs around here. We got to get rid of these. Find a way to get rid of these bugs. So he's trying his hardest, but the best thing he can come up with is trying to sweep them out of the lawn where they all seem to come from.
Then suddenly there's a rainstorm. Then suddenly there's a snowstorm. And then suddenly there's a really long close-up of a tomato.
So, did you guys get the feeling that this was touching on maybe global warming a little bit, climate change?
Well, yeah, because as everybody knows, climate change happens when lightning, fire, and ice are all in imbalance in the Earth's atmosphere.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, all the currents and everything are out of balance, and everything's out of whack, and all the Pokemon are upset because nature's out of balance.
Yeah, that's what all the scientists say. It's fire, ice and lightning which need to be in balance in order for the ozone layer to stay intact.
Yes, this is what I've heard. This is what I've read, at least. Some leftist propaganda going on around here.
There is a real I guess the most consistent message is sort of an anti-industrialization one. Like it's clearly all the problems are being caused by humans interfering with natural processes.
Right.
Exactly.
But then at the same time, the only way to fix these problems is for humans to interfere with natural processes.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is very much echoing the first movie, which is the problem is that humans are keeping Pokemon as servants, and
which
the only way to save it is to keep the Pokemon as servants, but nicely.
Yeah. Clearly, from the appearance of Mr. Mime, we've learned nothing since.
Yeah. We make them sweep our grass. So, then like there's these flocks of Pokemon showing up, a flock of Pelipper, a Diglett stampede. And at this point, so far, all we've seen in this movie is a series of images. There's no narrative at this point.
Right.
It's just a bunch of crazy shit happening. There's a tomato, there's rain, there's snow, there's a bunch of, like, herds of Pokemon, there's the Northern Lights, and there's a bunch of characters being not even introduced, just cut to, and I'm like sitting there thinking, what is happening? Is there a plot to this movie, or is this movie just like a collage of images?
Yeah, this is at this point we're like 10 to 15 minutes in. This is no longer the introduction to the movie, but they are still just saying they're just having characters explain what's happening around the world.
Right, without any idea of, like, nothing, no plot tying it together. And then from this point, where it's just shown us a bunch of crazy images for no reason, like, we have no idea why there's a Diglett stampede. We have no idea why. But, like, it just suddenly cuts to the boat crashing on an island, and then a bunch of people with bird masks just showing up in your face. And it just furthers this thing of, like, am I watching a movie that is made by a studio, or did I just get some weird fan edit?
Yeah, is this a 4-year-old child reciting what they think happens in an episode of Pokemon?
And then Digletts, and then a bunch of people in costumes, and then it rained, and then Professor Oaks got rained on.
And these scenes are way too long. They stretch on way too long. Like, I was starting to lose interest during any of the weather scenes. Oh, my God.
This movie is 10 minutes shorter than the first Pokemon movie, and yet
it felt 2 hours longer.
There is as much filler.
So, these people in bird masks show up to, and this is...
my God.
We're at Ash and Misty and fucking Tracy. And these people in bird masks show up, and they scare them.
So, whoever the captain of the boat is, I don't know that person's name
either. I'm trying to figure it out.
Maybe you're thinking the same thing she knows.
So she says, as they're riding into the storm, she panics. She says, we're way off course. You can see a city skyline in the background. They are not 300 yards from land, and she's panicking. And that's when they get lost. And then they find the place they were going to anyway. That was the whole point. They land there.
Not off course at all. And she knows where they are once they land.
And she knows all the people there as well.
Doesn't give them any sort of warning like, hey, we're in the right place, everything's fine. A bunch of people in animal masks might show up because there's this festival that I know about and I know all the traditions of because she's the one who explains it later. So Ashley and Misty and Tracy all immediately are like, oh no, we're about to be murdered.
Yeah,
this could have been prevented.
I personally have a fear of birds, just generally,
yes.
and these townspeople show up in bird masks that even in this like childish animated style looked terrifying.
Yes.
I would be sure that they were going to murder me at that,
right.
at that time.
So they explain that there's this like annual legend festival, they call it, and they don't explain much about it at first until some edgy teen shows up and snarks about it, and she's like, I don't care about your rituals and rules. But her role in the movie is to uphold the rituals and rules. Like, that's her whole thing.
She's also like, the captain asked the other girl, she was like, are you going to be like, what was it, the festival leader or something?
Yeah.
Like some sort of, and she's like, no, I'm too old. You can age out of it. Like, apparently it has to be a child in order to lead it, or to be the primary festival leader or something.
Yeah, it's a ceremonial position. It's apparently the only one, and they need a woman under the age of 15, I guess, to do it.
And I love how she was like, yeah, I'm the only one not in a stupid costume, and she's wearing the dumbest outfit I've ever seen.
She's a badass, though. She just shows up and she starts
tearing
talking about how all this customary stuff is bullshit, and then she just starts dunking on people. She just starts pointing people out and insulting them. Yeah. And then she's just like, she points to Ash and she's like, you're my boyfriend now.
Yeah, I'm into you. I'm liking it. Yeah, like, show me what that dick do. And then, but she finds out he's a trainer, and an old man just appears from the crowd randomly and starts yelling at him about like the responsibilities of being a trainer. Like, you're a Pokemon trainer? A Pokemon trainer needs to be friends with his Pokemon and be responsible about battling, or whatever he says.
He flat out just says, like, you are going to be the chosen one.
Yes. My first thought was like, oh, they're going to sacrifice him. Like, that's what's going to happen to Ash. Like, that's what always happens during these, like, you're the chosen one, you came as prophecy predicted and as prophesied, and they always are thrown into a volcano or something, right? Right. That's always like the ending of it.
And this was
and
great
then he gets a traditional kiss, which apparently that's something that happens.
Oh yeah, she shows up.
Of course.
She basically says that he's hot and taunts Misty. She's like, "Oh, are you jealous? Are you his girlfriend?" And Misty's like, "I'm not his girlfriend." That was a really offensive upset. Misty impression. And
she's not, though. That's the thing. Misty's not Ash's girlfriend.
Yeah, but I didn't think so until this movie made me second guess it.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So now Ash is fully horned, and we're moving onward.
And then so the lady kisses him, and then there's a festival. Then suddenly it's a festival.
Go ahead.
At this point, we are 20 minutes into the movie. I'm still calling it a movie. We are 20 minutes into this movie, and the entire movie has still just been people explaining what the plot of the movie is going to be.
And
there's been no action. There's not been one Pokemon fight. There may have been like two Pokemon butting heads, but that's the closest we've gotten.
Right.
And at this point, they are just straight up saying, hey, Ash, main character of the story, you are the chosen one. You will fulfill our prophecy. You don't have to discover the prophecy. Nothing's happened before it. Nothing really happens after it. They just point at him and say,
and have
chosen
decided.
one.
Yeah, but is that more than happened in Lord of the Rings, though. Isn't it just some kid?
Kind of, but he was also bestowed. Like that responsibility was bestowed upon him in Lord of the Rings. This is just they picked him randomly and said, "Okay, it's you."
While the festival's happening, somebody mentions deep fried festival cakes, which is our second food of this podcast that we need to try. So we have
Deep fried festival
Lazy Boy
cakes.
Lazy Boy no chew stew,
Lazy
and
Boy
we have
milk chew stew.
we have
Ugh.
And we have
deep fried
festival
festival
cakes.
All right, so we're opening up on this big dinner, right?
Right,
And the camera comes in, and it's this huge festival. Everyone's laughing and talking. Opens up on this lady. One of
God,
the,
I
one of the
wrote this
girls.
down.
Yes, me too. And she says laughingly, she's telling a joke.
She's finishing
and
a
says-
joke.
Finishing a joke, and says, "She said no, but I have Krabbys." What the fuck?
Yeah, it's
What
a
the
sex
fuck
joke
setup?
about Pokemon. And it's like, lady, stay in your lane. We're making a podcast about this. This is our territory.
What the fuck setup? Would there have to be a punchline like that? Like, so that already, like, I'm almost completely distracted now, and I have to watch this whole scene again because I can't get
No.
over the fact that she says no, but I have Krabbys.
No, but I have
so-
Krabbys. It's somehow like this. The lead in line to that must be somebody asking if she has syphilis.
I would say if you think you know that joke, then go ahead and tweet it at Matt Allcamp, at Pat Riviere,
No,
at Ash
genuine-
Stoneman.
okay,
Just
yeah.
let us know
Hashtag-
what the first part of that joke is.
yeah, I actually
Hashtag
would
Brock
rather-
French kissing a Pokemon.
No, I don't want. Do not send me pictures. I'm going to repeat this. Do not send me pictures. I do want to set up to this joke.
Yes. set up to the joke.
However, this joke ends.
And-
it has to end with "She said no, but I have Krabbys," and I need a good setup to that, please.
Yeah, and
That-
the best
that's
ones
fine.
we'll read. The best ones we'll read on the show, just like the best pictures of Brock French kissing a Pokemon. We will put on.
I cannot stress enough. Don't send me pictures.
So the weird girl starts playing the ocarina on
She-
stage.
She
Yes.
starts playing her ocarina, and
She's
she's
playing ocarina.
introduced as Melody, which she
Mm-hmm.
had already, her sister had introduced her as earlier. And Ash looks right at her, and goes, "Melody?" Because
Melody?
he has already forgotten her name.
She kissed him.
She kissed
She's
him.
into him.
It's not 10 minutes later. They're sitting down for dinner.
There
and he's
is-
completely forgotten her
Okay,
name.
when I was, how old is Ash? 12. When I was 12 years old, if a girl said I was pretty, said I was cute or whatever she said, I would never forget her name my entire life.
Yeah, I still have
and you
them
can
saved.
probably remember it now.
No one. When I was 12, nobody ever said I was cute. But yeah, Misty's pissed at this point for no reason. She's
No.
just staring at the girl playing the
She's-
ocarina, and she's
she's
like,
a
I hate her.
She's a big show off.
Yeah.
She was being kind of. I mean, I think she's cool as hell, but that comes at the expense of Misty's pride. So
And then finally, an actual plot arrives. They tell Ash what he needs to do. They say,
Yes.
you have to go to 3 islands, gather 3 glass balls,
Yes.
bring them back here. I'll play the song again, and the festival's over.
And
Then she hits on Ash more. She says,
Yes.
like, when you come back, you can touch my asshole. I don't know. What did she say?
I don't know. She was just like, I have no idea. She was just like,
Pretty sure she
Uh,
said what I said.
yeah, come
Yeah.
back and I'll let you touch my asshole.
Yeah.
and then
And
Pat looks
Misty
over.
won't-
Yes.
So then Misty's like, I'm not coming. And her reason is just because of the concept of girlfriends.
But their concept is very fucked up. She was like, if you want someone to do, what was it?
If you
What
want
you
someone
want,
to-
when you want, what you want, when you want, something like that.
Go get a girlfriend.
Go get a girlfriend. I was like, nope,
And it's like-
not what girlfriends are for. Misty.
First of all, not what
That's
girlfriends are for.
problematic.
But even if you think that's what girlfriends are for, that's not an excuse to not come. Like, to not come
know.
along is just because girlfriends are people who do that, and you're not like
And yeah,
she's refusing to come just because girlfriends exist in the world, just because there are girlfriends and she's not one. Because like, she's not saying, no, you have to date me if you want that. She's just saying, no, I won't do that because of girlfriends.
but also Ash isn't the one who mentioned anything about a girlfriend, and he
I
doesn't
know.
give a shit. He does
Yeah.
not care. and he's fully into Melody, and so I don't understand Misty.
Well, he can't be too into Melody if he doesn't remember what her name is.
But now he does, because he was enamored when she was playing the ocarina.
This is the end of their romance entirely.
Yeah, it never comes up again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then we find out that it's like Slow King is the one that there was a Slow King that showed up at the very beginning of the movie. In the opening scene of the movie, it was just like a Slow King staring at a henge as that narration was going. And now is where we find out the Slow King's the one with the smooth ass voice.
Yeah, he can talk, and I think it might be the narrator for the old Pokemon series too. The voices sound very similar, which would be really cool if just this whole time it was that this talking Slow King that was
psychic Slow King.
So they set off in the boat. It's Ash and his Pokemon and the older sister. I don't remember her name. And then at that moment, all I could think was, man, I wish Brock was here.
Yes.
Brock would really be having a good time right now, especially with this older sister driving a boat on an important mission. Like that is prime Brock. And then what do we cut to? But Professor Oak at Ash's house talking on a monitor to Brock and a nurse. I don't know the nurse's name.
But he's not even talking
They don't
to
give
Brock.
the women names in this movie.
Oh, Professor! No, he's talking to. Is this where he talks to Professor Ivy? And it's snowing outside, and the window explodes for no reason.
I don't know. I remember Brock and all the Pokemon are going
And
nuts.
there's chaos going on in the video.
Yeah,
I don't remember this part at all.
He does look like he's doing well. He looks like he's having a good time.
Brock does?
Yeah.
No, Brock,
I think you guys
Brock
passed
is really upset, isn't he?
No, he's struggling in the moment, but just like generally, he looks healthy. He looks like he's got a positive outlook.
He's doing well. He's alive.
You guys pass over this one moment where Misty and Melody are arguing over who Ash's girlfriend is.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm glad you brought this up.
And Tracy shows up, and it's like his second line of dialogue in the whole movie, and he goes, "You talking about me?
What the fuck, Tracy?
Who are you?
Tracy?
Who are you, Tracy? I hate you." And then it cuts, and then they have the nerve to show us Brock. Like, this is what you could have had. But instead you have this dipshit named Tracy.
Fuck off, Tracy. I really don't like Tracy.
We find out there's weather disasters all over the globe. I do not remember him talking to Brock, but I made him dozed off for a half a second because what does this movie have to keep your attention at this point? But then he does talk to Professor Ivy, who seems like she's on drugs. Her eyes are half closed, and she talks like this.
And she that is the moment where we see Brock, and then she starts explaining, or it's actually kind of lost how they figure this out, but they understand that there is an underground river, underwater river. It's under the ocean where these little islands lie, and because the collector has stopped one of these Pokemon, legendary Pokemon, now that underwater river is going nuts and causing weather disasters all over the entire world.
Which is the other piece of exposition aside from the prophecy that will be explained 17 times throughout the movie.
Correct. But also, is it ever explained why Brock is where he is and not with the company?
I think that's a series thing. I imagine that that's something that we saw in the series where he stops and probably just fell in love with Professor Ivy.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Decided to stay there.
Somebody was probably like, dude, you're too horny. You're too horny to keep going with us.
Yeah,
we can't keep stopping every time we see a female character for like 10 minutes.
You can't, yeah, exactly. You can't write something about her every single time you see a female character. You gotta calm down, Brock.
This would have been his ultimate adventure, though.
It would have been.
There were women, there was adventure, boats that can go up steps.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of moral high grounding. We'll get to that later, but that's one of Brock's favorite things.
This is the thing. We get another boat crash, right? And this is where I realize somebody says something that like hinges on, like somebody says something about Ash's character, like, oh, Ash will get through this. I don't remember what the line is, but somebody says something, and that's where it really hits home. Like, they did not develop any of these characters at all, right? Like, they're asking us to rely on the strength of these characters. They do not explain who Ash is, why Ash is impressive, why Ash is capable. And granted, as we mentioned in previous episodes, nothing ever explains why Ash is so capable, right? Because he does everything wrong and he sucks at Pokemon, but somehow he prevails.
But at least in past movies and shorts, he's
there's been like he wins a battle at the beginning or
himself,
something. Yeah. It crashes, and then Misty and Melody show up in their boat, still arguing about what girlfriends are. And their boat gets stranded, and Misty's like, "Don't worry, I've got this figured out." She pulls out the sail, and they use the sailboat to fly the boat up a dry mountain.
That's not how boats work.
Not how boats work.
Also, there was a line again where she was like, "I'm a girl and I'm his friend." What was it? There was a line, and all I have written down here was like, if I had $1 for every time I called myself someone's girlfriend and I was just a girl and his friend, like, because it was really weird. They keep going back to this, like, trying to explain what a girlfriend is throughout the entire film. The entire movie is just them trying to differentiate a friend from a girlfriend.
A friend from a girlfriend, right? Yeah. I'm a girl and I'm his friend, and we have sex. And we might get engaged one day. That doesn't make me his girlfriend.
We live together. Yes, I'm fathering his child, or I'm mothering. His father's my child. Era. Whoops.
But being the level of familiar with Pokemon as I am, there was never any tension between Ash and Misty whatsoever until you introduce one other girl in there. And then all of a sudden, Misty is incredibly confused about how she feels about Ash.
A lot of misogyny going on in this movie.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of just very anti-feministic stuff going on in this movie.
Yeah.
And it all revolves around the... All right, I'm sorry.
Why are you sorry?
It's because I'm getting off on political messaging again.
No, that's perfect.
I mean,
that's what this podcast is nothing if not a political podcast.
Like, that's really poor for a children's film to be like, oh yeah, if you get two girls together, they're definitely going to fight over the guy. Like, that's just how girls work.
Ash steals the fire orb. He gets to the shrine. He takes the fire orb. Team Rocket shows up. They know they're in a movie. They're much like Deadpool in that sense.
That is so weird.
They're pre-Deadpooling Deadpool.
And then they give out their incredibly blatant abstinence advocacy.
Oh, yeah, because a sailboat lands on them, and then Jesse says, opposite sex only leads to trouble.
Yes.
And James says, that's trouble I don't need. And which is like this abstinence education thing. But then Meowth says the most confusing thing on earth, where he says, you don't need the opposite sex. You have each other.
What? Like,
what does that
they're
mean?
brother and sister, right?
They're not brother and sister.
They're not? Okay.
But what does that mean? You don't need the opposite sex. You have each other. Can we parse that for me?
There's so much more. Did James come out? That's what I translated this as.
Yeah, did both of them come out? Did all three
of
them come out?
Both just came out.
No, I thought it was just the same inconsistency you get with any other abstinence message, where they are just encouraging you not to get involved with the opposite sex at all, but they're already waist deep in the opposite sex. That's that's not the way I meant to.
No.
That's not the picture I meant to paint, but. I think that they
I have some tumblers I can show you. I think you're dead on.
Fully involved. I mean, they're committed to each other for life. They're each other's life partners, if not also sexual partners. So I think that they are just as hypocritical as anybody else that's pushing an abstinence agenda. And
true.
That is weird.
Now I'm done grandstanding.
No, that is weird. Abstinence education in school was always like. It was like a mixed gender group that would come out, and they'd be like, be careful about being friends with the opposite sex because it might lead to boning. But it would be a group of men and women who were like, we're best friends and we think you shouldn't have sex or be friends with each other. Anyway, back to Pokemon.
There's a lot of also breaking the fourth wall in this movie.
Well, like you said, yeah, the Team Rocket knows they're in a movie.
Yeah, it's really weird. Oh, and then Ash says, "I'll catch this on video."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the phrase.
He's gonna pirate it. Come on.
Yeah,
Ash.
exactly.
Where's he even getting money from? So then
also, sorry, just one more thing. The abstinence message that we've gotten is the only moral lesson that we've learned from this movie so far.
So far, there is no other moral
Absolutely
lesson.
nothing else has mattered.
It's just stay away from the opposite sex is the only message we've heard so far.
So apparently what happens when any one of the 3 legendary birds disappears from their island is that the other birds just immediately try to take over their island.
Yeah.
So Zapdos shows up to steal Fire Island because Moltres is missing, and Pikachu gets pissed off and starts trying to zap Zapdos. Once again, no one in these fucking movies understands type matchups. And it's not going that well. But then the Dime Store Tony Stark, green-haired man, we know his name is the Collector, but in the movie we don't yet. He shows up and he throws he threw electric circles at Moltres. He throws electric squares at Zapdos, and he catches Zapdos and pulls him into his flying fortress. But
Screaming.
Oh my god!
You know the voice actor occasionally said words and the director had to say, okay, hold on, sorry. I know you naturally want to say, oh my god. I know you naturally want to say the pain, but like you have to just.
I just need
You're
pure
a bird.
screaming. I just need you to scream as loud as you can into the microphone.
Yeah, you're a bird with defined vocal cords, but you don't have lips or a tongue. Wait, birds have tongues. The thing that the fortress says, Siri, the Alexa in the fortress says, is that the Collector accidentally also picked up a boat.
Yeah.
So what sort of janky system do you have going on here that while you're trying to capture a bird, you could also accidentally capture a boat with 7 human beings on it and not even know it? And by the time the Collector gets down to say hi to them and tell him his name is the Collector, they're in a cage. So he already had a cage built for 7 people.
For 7 people.
By
in case
accident.
He accidentally picked them up.
He accidentally built a cage that could hold 7 people that he accidentally caught.
Right.
He must have been as surprised as they were when he walked downstairs. Like, oh wow,
Wow, holy shit, wow.
oh
It
shit.
worked.
I guess my wife is right. I do build cages.
Wow.
He explains his whole plan to them about how, like, the point of this for him is just to have an extensive collection of Pokemon.
Yeah, he one time found a Pokemon card, and it made him want to collect every physical Pokemon in the world.
Hold on a minute. Doesn't this demonize every kid who plays Pokemon?
This is what I wrote down. The whole point of the show is gotta catch them all.
Yeah, Misty is high grounding him on this, telling him he's disgusting, while standing next to Ash, who is on a mission, literally, to catch every
collect-
single Pokemon.
His last
Catch
name
all
is
the
Catch Them All.
His name is Ketchum.
Ash Catch Them All says, "You can't catch them all. That's immoral."
That's terrible.
Yeah.
I love how he's like, I started with a card. Now every kid who's like, oh fuck, I have a card.
I started with I have
several cards.
I was trying to catch them all. I guess I'm evil, and then throws themselves off their floating fortress.
Exactly.
So then because now Zapdos is gone, Articuno shows up and starts trying to take all 3 islands, like a real asshole. And then it cuts up to this helicopter where Professor Oak is really poorly drawing the exact thing we heard earlier, that lightning and fire and ice are out of balance and it's affecting the underwater currents of the whole world. The underwater currents of the whole world. Okay, this is science. Are you guys ready for a science lesson?
Yeah, please,
Okay.
Sure.
Professor.
The imbalance of power between lightning, ice, and fire can create an underwater current which could flood the whole world. world. And that's how science works. Nerds.
Not the melting of the ice caps, but Pokemon being out of balance. Yes.
Just crazy water.
And then Ash's mom shows up and says, "Well, my whole world is my son Ash, and he's on an island."
You know what's funny? She's like, "Yeah, Ash is the whole world to me. You haven't seen him in 6 months. Like he left home months ago, and you have not spoken or seen him, and suddenly you're very concerned."
Yeah, I've played this video game. You let a 12-year-old kid go around the world and battle adults for thousands of dollars.
Like you let this person, like, I don't know, just let your kid into the woods to fight God knows who.
I've watched Ash die at this point already.
And suddenly you, like, have some really, really deep connection with your son that has gone to... a psychotic Pokemon's lair.
Right.
Yeah, well, she essentially sold him to science years ago, and now is regretting it and trying to make up for it.
Gotcha.
So then it cuts to the Slow King, who just makes a joke that's much like he's like Frosty the Snowman in the Frosty the Snowman cartoon, that Rankin Bass Frosty the Snowman cartoon. It just cuts to Slow King and he goes, "I could use pants."
Yeah.
And then it cuts away, and that's like it. Like, why? Why did you do that? Why did that happen? I love it. This movie is so good. This is the best movie I've ever seen.
So
Film. I'm ready to call it a film.
we cut back to the ship, and they're trying to free the birds that this guy has caught because they found the old Moltres. And once again, this is just like in Pokemon the first movie. Ash's first thought to solve this problem is to run up and punch it.
Run up and punch it, and just like the last movie, he bounces off another force field, and he's like, "Whoa, what?" Every movie, Ash tries to punch an invisible force field.
That's his first thought. That's his first instinct.
I love it. That's his first reaction, is just to go up and punch it.
So
it's
then
so great.
Squirtle and Bulbasaur come out, and using their, level 7 attacks,
right.
They free
Of
Moltres.
course.
Moltres breaks out and frees Zapdos. And it suddenly I started thinking, I don't remember the Collector leaving the room. But his plan is, I accidentally caught a bunch of people. I guess I'll let them out of their cage and let them wander around my secret fortress. What could happen?
Yeah, that's true. Why did I miss that? Does he just go somewhere? Where he would go get some coffee?
He shoots up on his chair because this is the Sistine Chapel reveal. He chastises these people for getting in his way, and then lets them out of the cage, and then shoots his chair up 50 feet in the air through a Michelangelo painting to get to the next floor.
And then they immediately destroy his plan. Like, dude, that was not smart. Because in 5 seconds, Zapdos and Moltres destroy his base and make it crash to the ground.
Which he does not care about. He is not he's just like,
Yeah. And then Zapdos and Moltres start attacking Articuno, and this is the rest of, and just like the slap fight in the last movie, this is the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
For the rest of the movie, and we're about 40 minutes in now. For the other half of the movie, it's just 3 birds fighting in the air.
3 birds fighting, and then Ash and whoever else is with him at that moment zipping through water or snow or land.
But at this point, first, they tumble down the entire fortress, which is like 100 stories. It's so tall, and somehow they all survive. Oh yeah, and then Ash gets the lightning ball.
Yeah, it just drops in front of him.
Yeah,
that nothing happens to actually for him to have earned that. He lands at the bottom of the structure, and then from somewhere the lightning ball falls in front of him. What
a big jet! I have in my notes, big jet of water carries boat to other island.
Oh yes.
Yeah, because it's the magic bird, right?
It's
Lugia. Trying to break loose. Lugia.
Luigi.
My buddy Mike Lugia.
And so they show up on the other island, and we finally see Slow King, and he's like, "Yo." He's like, "Here's what you need. You are the chosen one. I am a Pokemon with a very smooth voice." And Ashley, you need to put the balls on that shrine. And Ash is like, I get it. And then he does, and he's like, I'm still missing one of them. And then Lugia appears, and we cut back to the Collector, who says, the beast of the sea will soon belong to me. He's not rhymed before, right? Like, this is his first foray into rhyming. He's just decided to bust out a freestyle.
Yeah, he just lost his Cloud Fortress. Things aren't... He's trying some new angles.
Exactly. He has to branch out into a new career now. He's like, I always was, I was kind of talented at rapping back in the day, freestyling. Maybe I'll go into that again.
And the prophecy comes back up again here. And somebody says Lugia alone will fail to quell the fighting. The earth will turn to, and this is where they really start to hammer it home.
Yes.
They say, the earth will turn to ash. There's like a real emphasis.
And nobody catches it at first.
Right.
Everyone says that around Ash, and nobody notices that they're saying his name.
Yeah, and then Lugia tries to fight the birds, gets its ass like totally kicked, and then a billion other Pokemon show up.
They try to it sounds like we're speeding through the last 45 minutes of the movie. That is strictly because the last 45 minutes of the movie is just these three birds fighting from a distance.
Right, and it's just all my notes from here are single sentences or 3 words, and it's just like birds fight, Lugia fights them, Lugia loses. There's not even anything to make fun of or to enjoy, like to appreciate, because it's just there's no dialogue, there's no plot, it's just fight.
They've stopped explaining what's going to happen in the movie and just started doing it, and it is just this. This is all we have to expect.
But this is where Slow King says the prophecy again, and he pauses on the earth will turn to ash, and then everyone's like, the earth will turn to ash? Wait a second. Maybe the earth won't turn to ash. Maybe the earth will turn to Ash, our friend. Ashley, catch them all. And then Ash is like, saving the world's too hard. And Tracy says, you're the only one who fits the legend perfectly.
Right.
There's no one else in the world named Ash.
Nope.
Well, also, that is a willful misinterpretation of that prophecy.
Exactly.
That that means the world will burn if this happens, not the world will now belong to a 12-year-old boy named Ash.
Does it, Pat? Because eventually the earth turns to ash and Ash saves the day.
It works out for him this time. It was a calculated gamble. It was this or the world ends.
Then Lugia's all passed out. Melody plays her song, wakes Lugia up, and they're like, Ash, you got to get that third ball, and then everything will be better again. And it's like, wait a second, this is exactly what they said in the beginning. This is exactly what she described as the festival. And it made me think, like, do they do this every year?
Oh, they pick someone to save the world.
Yeah, does every year this imbalance happen and everyone freaks out and they're like, the world's gonna end, and they make some kid do that? Like, is this every year? This is because this is no.
They change the rhyme like according to the person's name.
Yes, the world will turn to Jeff.
The world will turn to Tyler. You're the only one who fits the prophecy.
And
when's it gonna be the world will turn to Tracy?
Fuck you, Tracy.
Because this doesn't deviate at all from what she said the festival was supposed to be like. So anyway, so Ash starts crying for no reason.
Out of nowhere. Very suddenly, and then dries his tears very quickly.
Like, I don't know how to save the world. And he starts sobbing, and then the helicopter with Oak and Ivy and his mom in it, and a bunch of the press for some reason crashes behind them.
Where did the press come from? I don't understand why there's suddenly like reporters and I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
And then in the second abuse of Pokemon ownership, Ash uses all his Pokemon like sleigh dogs to travel over to the ice island.
This is way better. We are going to get there in no time now.
It's not cool, Ash. then the birds fighting accidentally freeze, or on purpose. I can't tell. Charizard gets frozen.
No, he actually gets sucked back into his Pokeball right before, because I rewound it because I was like, holy shit, did Charizard just drown?
Okay.
He dives into his Pokeball before he actually gets thrown into the water. But now they're stranded. Now they don't have any way to get to the ice island until
Uh-oh.
Womp womp.
Guess who shows up? Team Rocket with the third example of an incorrect use of a boat. They take their raft and they strap a fan to the back of it, and they make a fan boat that travels over land. Once again, not how boats work. Nobody in charge of this movie understands boats.
Yeah, do you think that, like, the person who wrote this, or at least, like, drew it, literally had never been on a boat before and did not understand, like...
That must be the case.
How they logically worked, like, how everything actually happened. Because even just the engineering of all these boats are very peculiar. Team Rocket says something kind of weird that I made me ponder for a very long time. They mentioned being out of work if something happened to Ash and Pikachu.
Oh, yeah, like their job.
This is their job? They get paid for this?
To follow Ash and Misty and whoever the third dude is around.
So who's their boss? They have a boss.
Their boss is Giovanni, right?
Right, okay.
Sure it's Giovanni.
So this is their job. They get paid for this. To chase Pikachu and Ash around. I just need to understand.
That's what they claim.
This is their contract job.
I guess they get paid to capture Pikachu and like just get expenses until they do. They're just not good at it.
Yeah.
But when they show up here, they have with absolutely no prompting by anything that's happened in the movie up to this point, changed their tune.
They've decided we're good guys now.
Yeah.
They literally say, "Hey, we're good guys now."
They say we're good. We're good now. And then they grab Ash and they bring him on there. They grab ass and they put him on their impossible boat, and they travel through the same tunnel 17 times.
Yes.
This is literally a full minute. It's the same shot of them going through a tunnel, then it's that shot reversed, then it's that shot upside down, then it's that shot again. It's just...
And then they actually cut to a separate shot, which is them from the side going through the tunnel.
And then they cut back to the...
And then they cut right back to the repeated footage.
Yeah, and then and then again, apropos, like, this all just happens like one after another, apropos of nothing. Ash gets there, he gets the ice ball. Done.
And then he abandons Team Rocket. They saved him. They brought him to the ice planet. They fall over while he's scrambling to get away with the ice ball, and he just leaps over them and keeps running. They fall over. He just jumps over them and doesn't even look.
Yeah. And then Lugia comes and then saves Ash, and Team Rocket grabs onto Lugia's tail, and as they're flying away, they're like, Team Rocket is like, it seems like Lugia can't fly fast enough, which doesn't seem to be true. Lugia's not complaining. Soaring. Ash isn't complaining. They're making perfect time. So Team Rocket just let go and fall down. Team Rockets just kill themselves for no reason.
They literally are committing suicide and accept death.
Yeah.
Like right there. That's it.
Yeah. Me saying they kill themselves and for no reason might be like both of those things are hyperbole, but what Ashley just said is, if you haven't seen the movie, is 100% true. There is a dialogue where they accept death out loud.
Yeah.
Yep. They all were
it.
like, well, this was great being with you guys, and here we go, I guess.
And they really come to terms with it. They're like, no, you know what? This is worth it. This is going to be a good death.
We became the good guys. We changed our ways, and this is it. Okay.
And they fall from an...
yes.
Sorry.
Right before they actually fall, they make what I think is the best joke in the movie, where I'm going to forget who says what, but they say, we're too heavy, we're slowing Lugia down. we have to let go. And I think Jesse says, maybe we should try Weight Watchers. And what's the
James.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know what? James says we should try Weight Watchers. Jesse says it's too late. And Meowth says, I've heard it's never too late to start taking care of yourself.
Team Rocket can be pretty funny sometimes.
It's a good exchange. But then they accept death immediately.
That's
after that.
2 movies in a row that Team Rocket has the best joke, right? No,
Last one was Ash. It was
Ash
just
in
set up
response
by-
to Team Rocket.
There was. Have we skipped the joke where Jesse says, not Jesse, James says, all intelligent life will be killed, and then he turns to Mewf and he says, and I will be, and Mewf says, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
And
did skip
that was,
that, but
that was
happens.
actually one of the best. One of the best
Yeah.
jokes Team Rocket had.
So at some point Ash asks why there's like 1 billion Pokemon gathered on the shore. And he's like, how can they even, and he's like, they're here to help. And he's like, how can they help? And Lugia goes, they're not sure. That's why they're here.
And
What?
Ash is very confused, but he's like, what?
What? Excuse me? I don't
what?
think that makes sense, sir.
I don't understand.
All of these Pokemon are talking too, which implies that they're just marching across continents going, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help?
Right. So then the collector reappears. He's still trying to catch Lugia. And Lugia just, like, again, we find out later that he's still alive, but what we think at the moment is that Lugia just murks him, just kills him, just straight up murders him.
He slices the complex in half too. He creates some ball of light in his mouth.
Yeah.
And then out of this ball of light in his mouth shoots like a laser stream.
Yeah.
That cuts the crashed Cloud Fortress in half.
Yeah.
And officially ends it.
And then somehow Ash falls into the water, and Misty says, I need to help him, and starts swimming towards. She's like, this is where she's like, maybe I am his girlfriend.
Yeah, I'm saving him from drowning, so I must be
his girlfriend.
Did you guys know that if you care at all about someone who is dying and you want to actually keep that from happening, that you have committed to a relationship with them?
Yeah, Ashley, of the opposite gender.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Please.
That's a stipulation. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
See, this is why I don't trust lifeguards.
So
Oh, man.
Misty swims after him, and it's like, Misty, all you have is water Pokemon. All you have is water
Yeah,
Pokemon. Just
why are you swimming?
Yeah, just jump on something's back. But anyway, Ash is dead again.
Ash has died in every movie so far.
Yeah, so far there's 2 movies. Ash has died in both of them.
And for all we know, he also died during Pikachu's vacation. And that came back.
They get Ash back to the shrine. He wakes up. He stumbles up the stairs like he's drunk. He puts the ice ball on the pedestal. All the water everywhere turns green for some reason. All the birds fall asleep for some reason. And then Melody plays her song. It wakes everyone up, and all the birds are friends again. That's like the end of that's like the whole movie. The end. Like that's what happens. It's exactly what she described was the festival, which makes me again is like, does this happen every year? Does all of this happen every single year?
So technically, Melody is the one who saved the world, not Ash.
Because she had to play her song in
She had to
order
play
for
her
it to
song.
work. But I mean, yeah, but her song wouldn't have done shit if it wasn't for Ash's balls. Whoops. Well, I mean, she wasn't really into him.
Yeah, this is true.
Then we find out the collector's still alive. All the billions of Pokemon gathered on the shore go home. Slowking seems completely unaffected. He's like, well, all right. And then that's like seriously, that's like it.
That is it.
Lugia shows up and he's like, hey, good job, Ash, and then disappears.
I'm sorry. I hate to correct you, but
Yes.
Lugia shows up and he can't talk anymore. at this point he can't communicate psychically. He just gives like a head nod to Ash and then lowers his shoulders to say, "Hop on for a ride." But he's at this point unable to communicate psychically with people.
Yeah, and they fly around for some time, drops Ash back off. Ash gets yelled at by his mom, and it's really sad. She's talking about how lonely she is and what she would have done if he had died, and it's really, really upsetting.
Again, there were so many other opportunities that he could have died, and she just wasn't aware of them. He literally died in one instance, and he just almost escapes death, and now she's concerned.
Yeah, he fell from several stories and hit the water.
Awful mother, and I don't understand why she's suddenly so concerned after he has left home and is on his own with other children fighting adults.
But guys,
every day.
At this point, the biggest plot point of the whole movie is finally paid off. Where the whole movie you've spent wondering about one thing one character said at one point, and finally you get a payoff. It shows the collector's Mew card. And it's just a Pokemon card. Like it literally just looks like a Pokemon card, but slightly more like archaic. And that's it.
So that pays off.
Yeah.
You saw the back of it at the beginning of the movie, and now you see the front of it.
And Tracy must have said something stupid here, because I wrote down that my last two notes are, I hate Tracy, and the end was so weird.
My last two desperate notes.
Yeah. I hate Tracy, the end was so weird. That's like...
God, I hate Tracy so much.
And that's the fucking movie. So,
awful.
Once again, here's a Pokemon movie where it starts off with something ominous. Ash has to save the day after he gets caught up. Okay, it starts off with something ominous. Our heroes get caught in a storm, wash up on a strange place, find out they have to save the world. Ash tries to punch something, and it has an invisible force field. Team Rocket decides that they're going to help the good guys. Ash dies. Ash gets brought back to life. The day is saved. Everyone goes home.
A major dissimilarity, I would say, is that the first movie had a message. The first one was as muddled and simple as it was. The first one was stand by your friends. In this one,
the message of the first movie was be nice to slaves.
God.
And then it's okay to have them. I do not see how you don't see why that's the point of that movie.
Okay. Right. So Pat is saying there's literally no message.
Yeah.
There is nothing. So Team Rocket switches to good guys and even volunteers to sacrifice their lives at the end of the movie to save the day.
Yeah.
And they get nothing. They end up on the island with that Slow King that just is talking nonsense to them about how he's saying everybody saw your exploit, how you acted to save the world, acted so bravely and selflessly.
Oh right,
and there's nobody around. It's him alone on this island.
He turns to the camera and he's talking about us.
And then even worse than that, the collector is shown in the last scene of the movie, just saying, "Oh my goodness, my entire fortress is destroyed. My plan has failed. I guess I'll just have to try again."
Yeah,
that's the only lesson he picked up from this, and he doesn't pay any retribution.
Yeah, and like there's no resolution to any of the characters at all. The Misty girlfriend, the love triangle thing doesn't get paid off. The festival doesn't end. Ash doesn't nothing happens. Nothing. There's no ending to this movie.
It was awful.
Yeah, what would you guys say the point of this movie is? What would you guys say that they're trying to convey morally or social? What is the point? If you had to dredge one,
if I had to really reach for an actual message, it would probably be don't be greedy, maybe?
Yeah, greed is not more important than in the environment.
That's a good message, actually.
Right. Or it's an Indiana Jones message. Those birds belong in a museum. So they don't belong in your private collection, collector. Or is the message don't be friends with the opposite sex.
Oh, abstinence, you think?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
Do you think
strong
abstinence would be the message of this movie?
This is another one. Why does Ash prevail? Why is Ash the hero here? What qualities does Ash show that are exemplary, extraordinary enough for him to prevail in this, again, impossible scenario?
He has a pure heart. That's why, right? Isn't that why he's the hero? Because he has a good heart.
How does that come through in this movie at all?
I don't know.
And also, very little Pikachu in this movie, which is interesting.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
Yeah,
Pikachu looks
He's always there, but he's not doing much.
He was like a Jiminy Cricket in this one, I think. He was more of just like a
He's like a
moral
guide. Yeah.
I think the ultimate lesson of this movie was just that nothing matters.
Yeah.
Who cares? It doesn't matter what you do.
A bunch of
you
shit
might
will
have
happen.
a chance to do something good for the world, but if you do, the only way it's going to work out is by a whole bunch of dumb luck.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie was dumb. But I found this movie plenty more entertaining than the first movie.
Yes.
Ashley?
I agree.
Really? I thought this was significantly worse. I really thought that the entire first half of the movie is just them saying, we promise something's going to happen in this movie, and then it just doesn't. And I hated that. There's not one single Pokemon fight. There's
no
two different times
hold on.
that
There
Pokemon
is
clash,
fight a lot.
and there's no definitive winner.
Hold on. There are 40 minutes of 3 Pokemon fighting each other nonstop. And then a fourth one who gets involved sometimes. There is a lot of Pokemon fighting in this movie.
But not a battle. Not an actual...
Oh, but not like in an arena, like a
Right.
Pokemon battle.
Which is the only moral, ethical way to have Pokemon.
Right.
Apparently, which we found out. Also, we found out in the Pikachu short, Pokemon do not fight unless their trainers tell them to. This movie would dispute that. And
that's true.
the first movie would dispute that. Every movie disputes that so far.
Well, so it was the Pokedex that said that. It's the Pokedex is always learning.
Okay, so the Pokedex just has some ways to go. So, how would you guys have? Okay, you are in charge of the Pokemon the movie 2000. You have to introduce Lugia. You have to deal with the 3 legendary birds. What do you do? What movie do you make? How do you guys improve Pokemon the movie 2000?
Did we ever hear the fucking name of the captain? I would say their names.
Okay,
Off
so
the bat.
first of all, so the movie opens.
You know what?
There's a list of names. The
Yes.
movie opens and somebody says, there's some character that doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Like a doctor or something is like, hey, you're all clear to set sail. Ash, Captain Bibips, Misty, Tracy. Oh, also, here's what I would do. I would replace Tracy with Brock. So it says,
Yeah, of
Captain
course.
Bibips, Ashley, Misty, Brock, you're all clear to set sail on your voyage. That's how the movie begins.
Yeah, well, they do a really bad
They
job
got a
of
physical.
who, when, where. Like,
Yeah.
actually, setting their
Okay.
location and everything. Like, it just, everything is so vague and you're just supposed to know everything.
Location I think is set because at the
It's set.
beginning there's that opening shot of the Orange Islands and they
True.
mention the Orange Islands later. So I do the same opening shot and then suddenly there's the physical. They're having a physical and the doc is giving them all clear and saying all their names out loud. I'm throwing to Pat, but he's not going for it.
I definitely think you add Brock, you take out Tracy, or you can leave Tracy in there. You know, you can have as many people in this as you want.
Right. Maybe they go to this island on purpose rather than a storm disrupts them.
Yeah, and I think that you take away all the mystical shit. You just there's a greedy person that's trying to steal legendary Pokemon, and there's a team of people who are morally righteous enough to try to stop him.
Right, and maybe this island relies on these 3 Pokemon and something that they do to like harvest their crops or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like Zapdos shoots the sky and it makes the rain go down and it makes like a storm happen.
Yeah, you know
lightning.
what? You're right. You really should improve the scientific accuracy of this movie.
And then maybe Moltres raises their field so that whatever raising farm fields do, and then maybe Articuno. Makes ice for the refrigerator.
Freezes all the crops so that they stay fresh.
Yeah, exactly. And this is how this island survives, is with these three, but the collector shows up and starts stealing them. Now we have Brock in the picture. So the girl's into Ash, but Brock is into the girl. And Brock is trying to be the chosen one. He's trying to impress the girl by pretending he's the chosen one when it's actually Ash who's the chosen one. I think we leave the prophecy in there so that Brock can try to hijack it.
I think Brock should have been super jealous that Ash was the chosen one and he wasn't. Because he's like taller and like stronger.
He's like, I'm taller. Obviously the chosen one would be taller.
Yeah.
So Brock traps Ash in a box.
Okay.
Locks Ash in a closet, maybe, and then goes on the mission. And then Pikachu has to free Ash.
Wait, you're making Brock the bad guy? Don't make Brock the bad guy.
No, Brock is the anti-hero.
Oh, yeah,
the collector's the bad guy.
He's more of an obstacle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe this is why Brock stopped showing up. Is because of his behavior in this movie.
Always putting people in boxes.
He locks Ash in a closet, and that's the first obstacle Ash has to overcome. And then it's a race between Brock and Ash to collect all the orbs.
And then they end up working together by the end.
Yeah.
And it's another good lesson about friendship.
It's a lesson about friendship, and also maybe you can do a better and that's a better lesson about how like your greed. Oh, and maybe the collector is collecting the Pokemon to sell them. Collecting the legendary Pokemon to sell them to sell them to the competitive battle people, to like a competitive battle arena. So at some point we get some shots of competitive Pokemon battles.
Yeah. And for our conclusion, we have
everyone's
the
naked.
collector trying to trying to escape, and using his collection of Pokemon to defend himself, but because he's never cared for them or trained them, he's only collected them.
They lose to all of Ash's level 1 poke.
Ash's Pokemon, who he loves and believes in.
At our level 1.
Yeah.
All right. That's a way better movie. And then, because it's Pokemon Movie 2000, suddenly the Y2K disaster hits, and all the electronic equipment malfunctions, and everybody's thrown into a prehistoric hellscape, and it's like suddenly it's like the beginning of Cormac McCarthy's The Road.
A true cautionary tale.
Okay, rankings. Ashley, how do you rank the 2 movies we've seen so far?
That's the thing. This one had less. I don't know. It felt like it was less jumbled, though. It felt like it had like a steady, consistent story, even if it was like it took a long time to get there. I gotta be honest. I enjoy this one a lot more than the first one. So I'm gonna say the first one's number 2. This one's number 1. I'm going to give this 3 right shoes.
2 ratings. Okay, I'm gonna also say Pokemon 2000 is my number 1. I think Pokemon 2000 is the best movie so far because it was just more entertaining to watch. I thought moment for moment I was more either confused or captured by the spirit of this movie than Pokemon the movie, the first movie, which I like the whole time I was like, I get what you're doing and it sucks. So that's the worst one to me, Pat.
Yeah.
Well, my list is going to be a lot easier to remember than the 2 of yours because I am putting the first Pokemon movie number 1 and Pokemon 2000 number 2.
Okay.
I think what you are both expressing as at least a cohesive plot is just them taking a long time to state a fact, like just a 3-sentence story spread out over an hour and 15 minutes. Yeah. So I think that this is only cohesive because there is one piece of information you need to know to understand what the resolution of the plot is.
The world will turn to ash.
Yes.
Okay, best Deus Ex Machina Pokemon. Mew or Lugia?
Ooh.
I think it's Mew. I mean, Mew had less of like a role. Like it made less sense when Mew did it, but Mew's fucking infinitely cooler. Pat?
I probably agree with you on Mew, although I do just want to take an opportunity to say Deus Ex Lugia.
It's like you said Deus Ex Mucina last time. Okay, all right.
I'm gonna go with Mew as well.
Okay.
Notice how I didn't say Mew 2 because I didn't
Who?
want people to get confused. Exactly. So, Mew is cuter, and I don't know. I don't know. I choose Mew because I like Mew more.
Aw, I choose Mew too.
No,
not Mewtwo.
Not,
Hold on.
mean,
All right.
hold on,
This
wait.
has gotten confusing.
You don't.
Okay.
Mew. You want
Guys,
Mew.
thank you so much for listening to our podcast. The very worst. It's a bad podcast it's only about Pokemon movies. And our next movie is I think we have a mini-sode next, a Pikachu mini-sode, followed by the third. What's the third Pokemon movie called?
I have no idea.
Hold on,
As
I have it
if.
written down on a piece of paper. I'm gonna cut this out. Okay,
Folks, while he's looking this up, we will not stop doing this. So I'm going to ask you to keep listening, whether you enjoy this or not, because it's going to keep going whether you choose to patronize it.
okay. So the third movie is called Pokemon 3, the movie. All right, so the next movie is Pokemon 3, the movie. If you want to watch it ahead of time and catch up with us, guys, I figured out an outro for us.
Let's hear it.
Okay, until next time, the world will turn to ash.
No.
Hold on. Let's say good. We didn't say our goodbyes. Okay. You can find me at Matt Allcamp on Twitter.
You can find me at Ash Stoneman. Don't recommend it, but you can.
I do recommend it. And also you can find me at Pat Reber, yeah.
And until next time, the world will turn to ash.
Turn to me.
Hey.